Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Action Network podcast presented by DraftKings. I am your host, Evan Abrams, and I am joined by Brandon Anderson for our NFL recap show for Week 3. We will discuss what we saw today, look ahead briefly to Monday night's games, plus we will get Brandon's hot read for next week. First off, every week I'm doing a little bit of trivia, so throw your answers in the chat for a chance to win access to our Bet Labs Discord channel for an entire month free. Now listen, if you're watching this show, it is about midnight Eastern coming off of Giants Chiefs, and you're a ball knower because it's late and you're deciding to watch us, a football show recapping the week. So I'm giving you a little bit of a tougher trivia question here, but it's based off of one team. It's a Kendra Middleton question because she now hosts on the Favorites, loves the Jaguars. So it's a Jaguars question. So in the last 20 years, the Jaguars are the worst team in the NFL against the spread from a profit point of view. They've had 17 quarterbacks start for them. Trevor Lawrence is their second worst against the spread in that span. I'm asking you, who is the worst? So I will bring this back. You can guess in the chat as we go. Our producer will let me know when someone guesses correctly. There is no minimum here. So it doesn't matter. I will say this. This guy started a bunch of games for them. Lawrence is now 31-34. He is second worst. Who is the worst? Okay, we will get back to that in a little bit. But, Brandon, what's going on? How are you before we get to my big stat?
I mean, Carson Wentz is 1-0. The Vikings, I think, just scored another touchdown. We're flying high over here, rocking the Wentz jersey again. I finally got a few picks right this week. Kitchen sink week went pretty well. We're ready. We're ready to talk some football. Weird witching hour in that early slate of games. I'm excited to talk about some of these.
Yeah, I've got a Bengals-like sweatshirt on for you, just, in remembrance for your game today. But yeah, exactly. The one big stat more or less has to do with today's witching hour, like you said. I mean, the Eagles, the Browns blocking field goal, the Jets, the Browns again, the Bucks going up and down the field. It was pretty much one of the wildest hours. It was a where were you type moment for some of those. And it all started, it felt like, with the Packers and kind of just, they were up 10-0 and it felt like they just let them hang around. So I'll give you this stat and we'll kind of go from here. So teams who lead entering the fourth quarter this season are 30-14 against the spread, 68% over the full game line. Okay. And that is the worst mark through 3 weeks in the wildcard era. And to me, it all was in the witching hour today, where I believe 8-5 are those teams against the spread this week. So you had absolute chaos where teams entering the fourth quarter just completely flipped. What are your thoughts on that before we get into the Giants Chiefs game?
Yeah, it just seems like, we see this, I feel like, in the NBA too. Just no lead is safe anymore. And in an NBA, it's like, well, we're shooting all these threes now. What's the reason in football? Is it doesn't feel like offense is lighting things up. There's a lot of blaming the kickoff rule for everything. So maybe it's the kickoff rule, right? Like that's different. So you're starting on a shorter field. It's just, you get the kickoff shorter. You get like one first down. You're in field goal range already. You get that late kick or something like that. Our kickers are hitting 50, 60 yarders whenever they feel like it. I don't know. Just weird stuff is happening. And, we said it, kitchen sink week, that this is like, some of these teams, Browns, Jets, some of these crazy late comebacks, our teams are just like, we got to save our season. Like, what else is left in the tank? Is there any play we have here? And, I think favorites kind of taking their foot off the gas a little bit. And football's weird, man. Football's a weird sport. And today was a weird day.
Yeah, I think a lot of us had predicted upsets this week. Things weren't going to stay the same. 13-0 for favorites of over 4 points entering the slate today with the Bills win on Thursday Night Football. But one lead that didn't disappear was the Chiefs. So we'll get to that. Chiefs win 22-9. They cover as -6 on the road, under 44.5. I guess watching this game, it kind of started from right as the whistle kicked off. You were like, where's Graham Gano? So the injury leads to the Giants turnover on downs on the first possession. And then Tyrone Tracy gets hurt. And from there, it felt like I was working on this show and almost nothing happened in the game. I don't know exactly how much I learned from this, but Chiefs end up going up 6-0 early. Giants score a touchdown, miss the extra point. And after that, Mahomes throws the backward pass, and you're like, what am I actually watching on Sunday Night Football right now? But it really, to me, it's the new age Chiefs. It's like every single week, this is the version of the Chiefs games we tend to watch. And at least tonight, without Neighbors, their defense was suffocating. It just felt like Russell Wilson, I think, at like 140 passing yards. It was not pretty. So what are your thoughts overall on – because I was trying to take something from this game that I thought I could move forward with. And tonight I feel like with the injuries on the Giants side and really seeing the exact same thing from Kansas City I've seen over the last 3 weeks, I just – I take what I am and I take it into at least the Baltimore game with them.
Yeah, I think honestly, the less we take away from this game for everybody's sake, the better. Just not a lot here. Cam Scadaboo's fun a few plays. Tyquan Thornton catches the late pass, or right after he drops the other pass. That was fun. Malik Neighbors, 2 catches, 13 yards on 7 targets. That's unforgivable. Like, what are you doing? Find a way to get Malik Neighbors the ball. I understand how the Chiefs were defending him, but be creative. Like, get him a screen, get him a slant, do something to get the ball in his hands. Very worrisome to me that the Chiefs actually found ways to run the football. Like, the Giants entered this game dead last in DVOA run defense. Yeah, you're going to be pretty bad if the Chiefs are running the ball on you. I came in with the note at halftime. Last year's Chiefs were boring but efficient and good on defense. This is just mediocre. The problem is, I think in the second half, that wasn't true anymore. The Chiefs actually had over 50% success rate in this game. The offense was still real boring, but actually like moved the ball in the second half and did some stuff. The defense tightened up. Patrick Mahomes had 2 plays where he ended up accidentally throwing it backwards to Isaiah Pacheco, both plays. Low key, that second one, like the first one is just kind of weird, and Pacheco just tossed it to the ref or to his team, whatever. That second one, I think Patrick Mahomes like legit saved the season on that play. He goes flying in, like no other quarterback even goes for that. Just like, oh, shoot, well, there's a touchdown for the defense there. He comes flying in, literally steals the ball away. That probably swings the game. And now the Chiefs are tied for the 8th seed. They're 1 out of the playoffs, and that is with the Jaguars, Steelers, and Bengals ahead of them right now. Like, they're right back in the thick of things, as awful as it all has felt so far. But, like you said, Ravens, Chiefs next week. And the line says that's Ravens by 3 right now. I have to believe I'm going to at least be looking at possible escalator city because the Chiefs have nothing explosive about this offense. Like, think Ravens Bills back Sunday night when we got real games to watch. If the Ravens get some of those big plays, the Chiefs don't have answers to that right now. They cannot match score for score with teams. So I don't, that to me could be a game where some of these chickens really come home to roost for the Chiefs, but we'll see next week on that one.
Yeah, Tyquan Thornton, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Hollywood Brown, as good as some of those seasons have been from those players. I mean, I expected Kelsey. I expected to see Worthy. Those being the top 3 targets tonight. You just kind of tell you what KC is at the moment, and I don't think we love anything from the running game. That's why they're kind of going back and forth between both backs depending on situation. Hunt near the goal line, Pacheco to try to get more yards. They're just trying to figure out anything on a daily basis, and to me, it's just very sloppy. So from week to week, they're just nothing compared to Baltimore. So I'm really curious to see where that line moves. I'll give you 2 just ridiculous stats. So the Chiefs were up 3-0 end of the first quarter. So they're now 30-0 last 3 seasons when leading after the first quarter. Actually, interesting enough, they've actually lost 5 straight when trailing after the first quarter. So, I mean, it kind of says what we've seen, which is they're not coming back because they don't have the offense. And when they have the lead, their defense becomes suffocating behind Spags. Ridiculous from a Giants point of view that first 2 months of the regular season, September, October, under is now 16-1 in Giants home games. 22-2 since 2019 and 27-4 since 2017. I mean, it's exactly what we've seen tonight from quarterback after quarterback after quarterback. And then the stat that I tweeted out, and I can read it right here because it just seems absolutely impossible, which is 39 night games, Giants and Jets since 2019. They're 5-34 in those games.
I was waiting for it. I knew the stat was coming. And by the way, the Jets are Monday night next week. Get excited.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Good call. But again, that I feel like that one needs an asterisk when you talk about the Dolphins. Like, what really is that in terms of an opponent? But I actually haven't looked. Dolphins favored in that game?
The Dolphins are indeed favored. So somehow the second time this season, the Dolphins are favored, even though we all thought Mike McDaniel's getting fired on Thursday. So fun times.
All right, let's move on here. All right, so this one's going to take a little bit to get into here, but Eagles win the game 33-26. They cover -3.5. Unreal. Total goes over 45.5. I had the Rams in this game +3.5 logged in the app. It was a win. I kind of turned this one away after 26-9. Knowing Philly, here's the thing. As a gambler, you know Philly can come back. You know Philly can even win the game, and you're doing bettor's math. And you're saying to yourself that, something really weird would have to happen for you to get over that 3.5 mark. Like, we were sitting there on the 2-point conversion, this, and that. But listen, we need to make room in the Hall of Fame after this one because we've seen a lot of things as gamblers over the last few years, whoop-de-doos and all different types of things that have turned point spreads. But this one was a toughie. So I'll let you kind of go in terms of what you saw at the end of this game. But again, Rams lead by 19 points. They're +3.5. Last 20 years, teams to lead by 19 +3.5 or higher, 185-5 against the spread. So, I mean, this is what you get. Philly's biggest comeback since 2010.
Yeah, just an all-time bad beat if you're on Rams in this game. So Stafford throws a pick right off the bat, quick Philly touchdown, and then it's just all Rams for an entire half of football after that. 19-7 at halftime. Eagles have 33 yards at the half. 33 yards for the Super Bowl champions, lowest by any team in the first half all season, lowest by the Eagles' first half in a decade. McVay should have been up by more, but they settled for 2 field goals in the red zone. And, Eagles are ready to just fans are ready to just get rid of Kevin Patullo at halftime. So that's where we're at. And then we come out and Hurts gets strip sack, his second play out of the halftime. Rams touchdown next play, 26-7. Yeah, I'm like, okay, great. What other games are on? We got 9. What else is happening out here? Rest of the game, Philly's offense wakes up. 5 plays, 79 yards and a touchdown. 13 plays, 87 and a touchdown. Turnover and downs. Then the 17-play, 91-yard Philly staple. Like, that's just an Eagles drive I've ever heard of one. They get the touchdown, they go up, and that's where it gets interesting because suddenly now the Eagles are up 27-26. The Rams are driving. There's no time left, basically. Well, so the Rams have already had a field goal blocked on the previous possession. So just important context. We're watching block kicks everywhere today. I lost track, genuinely. Like, we're like 6, 7, 8 block kicks today. Insane special teams. So the Rams have already just had a kick blocked. They get the ball down to the 26. He's out for the winning field goal. And again, like you said, bettor's math. The Eagles are up 1. The cover is in the bag. Like, either they hit the field goal and you win, and maybe you played a little bit on the money line too, but, it's fine. At least we'll get the cover. Nothing can take the cover away except Jordan Davis, 336-pound Jordan Davis, busts through the line, blocks the kick, and then apparently runs the fastest of any 300-pound man in a game since 2017 per Nate Tice, and rumbles 61 yards with zeros on the clock. The game is over. Fall on the ball, Jordan. Don't run 60 yards. You're not getting paid for this. The game is done. And then he goes 61 yards. No extra point, none needed, because it's a 7-point win. The game is done. And suddenly the Eagles win by 7. No cover for the Rams, who, again, were up 26-7 earlier than half. So just brutal beat for the Rams, for Rams bettors. Brutal loss for the Rams. 1-4 in the red zone. They settled for 3 field goal attempts, one of which got blocked. And the Eagles, they to me look a lot like last year's Chiefs. And you can decide of whether you think that's good or bad. They won this game on late downs, 3rd and 4th downs. They won it with their tush push like usual. They're not doing well on early downs. That was the difference here. Eagles early downs minus 0.2 EPA per play. Late downs over a 0.5 point EPA per play. So they didn't do well early, but they made the plays that mattered. The Rams were the opposite. The Rams were more efficient early downs, terrible on late downs. So that was where things swung. Even though there's way less plays that way, the Eagles did enough. But here they are, 3-0. They could have lost the Cowboys in the opener. We all watched it. We saw CeeDee Lamb drop like 100 yards of balls. They could have lost the Chiefs last week. We saw the Kelsey tipped interception. That swung everything. They could have lost. They should have lost this one. You can lose even after the comeback. You can lose on the field goal there. You didn't. You didn't lose. You're 3-0. But isn't that what we saw with the Chiefs all last year? Isn't that what we saw with the Vikings like multiple times in recent years? Isn't that what we saw with the Eagles a couple of years ago when they were 10-1 and Eagles fans were adamant? No, they're really good. It's a really good team. They're getting the wins. That's all that matters. Well, it wasn't all that mattered at the end of the season when everything fell apart and everyone got fired, and they bounced back after that. But man, I just can't buy this team right now, and they got so lucky to get this win. And we'll get to the Bucs game next, but Eagles at Bucs next week, both 3-0. That is a fraud off to me, and I am excited to see which team is fraudier. And by the way, Jalen Hurts has been horrendous against Todd Bowles in his career too. So let's maybe more than just the team's fraud off. I can't wait for that one.
Yeah, I was going to say they're also kind of a little bit their kryptonite. Tampa's had their number recently, and especially after this win. I mean, Philly hasn't lost in forever, and their last loss, I believe, is Tampa. So should be a great matchup. I also think, and I think this is important because I mentioned this with Giants Chiefs, but it's like, what did I learn from this game? I don't know necessarily how much I learned because I think a lot of things were confirmed. Yes, the Rams blew the game. And yes, the Eagles came back. I think your comparison with Chiefs last year and Eagles this year is interesting and something that'll now be in my brain because I hadn't thought of it before. But this really doesn't change much. I mean, the Rams got into the red zone. They just didn't convert. A lot of field goals. Philly's defense, good. Pass rush, good. Things of that nature can get in the way. But listen, the Rams lead the NFL, I believe, in sacks at the moment with 12. And Saquon was bottled up in this one, which is a good job compared to the past, which has been back-to-back 200-yard games. I think certain things went right in this one. And, Devontae looked good early. Puka had a good game overall. I like the Rams. I like the bet. I would have made it again. So I think going forward, I am good with the Rams. I like them this week against the Colts. I think it's a fun
one. I'm excited to see Rams Colts, two teams that have really impressed so far that I was not in on before this season. I have the Rams right now 5th power rated, and this is a team that I've been betting multiple years in a row to miss the playoffs, but they've been that good. Stafford is looking good right now. Yeah. I think too, Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams is that. Is that the best receiver combo in the league? Everyone just assumed it was, T and Chase or whatever the other options are, but no one can cover those two guys right now. So to me, this is one where kind of back to Bills and Ravens from week 1, where I'm like, okay, I'm actually a little more impressed with the losing team here, big picture, that the Rams didn't even just go toe-to-toe. They were putting it to a team that, let's give them credit, has lost, once in 20, 21 games at this point. So you keep doing that forever, you're going to get the credit. But look, the Chiefs were doing that forever until they weren't. And then suddenly they lost to this Eagles team and then 2 more to start the season. So, it's 2 teams that I think we're going to see a lot more of going forward. And the Rams, I think, have proven that they belong in that upper echelon of NFC contenders. Lane Johnson got hurt for the Eagles, so keep an eye on that. Interesting that the Eagles' passing offense really took off without Lane Johnson. I don't remember how much he missed in that second half, but he's their best pass blocker. So, yeah, I think the big question with the Eagles, especially with the Bucs next, as Eagles fans like to point out, did they solve the passing offense finally? 6 halves into the season, did they finally take the training wheels off and figure out how to pass? Or was that 1 half and the other 5 halves we've watched so far count more? Because that's 5-1. And let's see what it looks like next week. I'm not quite ready to say that it's just all fixed now because of 1 good half with 3 admittedly good drives.
And just for note's sake, Philly -3 right now in Tampa Bay. The Rams -3.5 at home against the Colts. All right, let's keep rolling here. Next game is Jets and Bucks. Holy mackerel as well. So Tampa Bay beats the Jets 29-27. Jets cover all the numbers. Total goes over 43.5. I think the easiest way to start here is I just felt like there was so many versions of this game. It's hard to get my reaction straight. So the Bucks went 3 and out 3 times in the second quarter and still scored 17 points somehow. That's actually true. They were up 20-6 at the half. The Jets scored 6 points in the first 3 quarters, then 21 in the fourth quarter on 2 10-plus play drives. So I just think all around it felt like completely different versions of 2 different games. So I think, like the other games we were talking about what to take away, I'm not necessarily sure I need to take much away from this one, except the Bucks feel like cardiac pirates, as I'll call them right now, as they keep just figuring out ways through Baker Mayfield to get things done at the end of games. But I think an important thing to take away, Bucks had 14 penalties for 124 yards and won with 1 offensive touchdown. You said it, like Tampa Bay facing Philly next week, I was all ready to roll on Tampa Bay. Now, all of a sudden, I want to fade them both, and I feel like I have to take a different angle. So what is even the angle here from Jets Bucks?
Yeah, Bucks also 1 of 5 in the red zone. So yeah, if you want to be optimistic, you have none of your offensive linemen in the right position who you're supposed to be having as the Bucks. You have no Mike Evans, leaves hurt with a hamstring. That's not great. Older player, long history of hamstring injuries. Right as Egbuka's playing hurt and Godwin is finally about to come back, maybe. Tristan Wirfs may be back next week. That obviously would be a huge swing in that game against the Eagles. But if you're an optimist, for the Bucks to have had all these injuries early and 14 penalties, 124 yards, 1 of 5 in the red zone, and you get the missed or the blocked kick back the other way, Jets steal the game from you out from under your nose, and you win anyway. And this is 3 games in a row. For the optimists, it's like, okay, great. We could be 0-3 right now, but we've stolen these wins, and we still get to play the terrible NFC South the rest of the year. We still are getting healthy. We're going to have Wirfs back, and eventually Evans and Egbuka and Godwin. That's the best wide receiver duo because it's a trio, and you get all 3 of those guys eventually. So 3-0 with a +5 point differential. It seems impossible. Like they're literally 2 points away from winning by the actual slimmest margin possible in these games, but they're 3-0. The Falcons are 1-2 now and 0-2 in the division. And the Panthers and Saints are the other 2 teams. So they're sitting pretty right now. They're 4-time division champions. They are cruising at this point, even though I think for a second time this season, the Jets should have won this game. Jets Steelers week 1. In this game here, Jets had a 46% success rate. That's fine. The Bucs offense had a 32% success rate. That is terrible. The Jets housed this team. Bucs offense, 32% success, 7th percentile, 15% success on their run game. That was so good under Liam Cohen last year. That wasn't good today, but they got the win. So Tyrod Taylor, the whole thing with him was supposed to be, you don't make mistakes, take care of the ball. And then you get a pick 6 right before half, and you basically lose for that reason. The Jets, I think, are the better team on this game, but didn't get the win. And I believe, if I remember right, the Bucs were number 1 in our luck rankings at the site. I'm going to get out ahead of Nick Giffin's formula, and I'm going to just guess the Bucs move even further into number 1 after this one, because you can't keep winning games like this forever. But look, we're going to keep saying that about, there are more teams to say that about still, but wins is all that counts at the end of the day. So I think if you're a Jets fan, I think it's fine. You kind of want to lose games anyway and get the better draft pick for next year. So you wake up tomorrow and go on with life. The Bucs win games that they shouldn't be winning, but they're going to be better later in the year. So I think that matters.
Yeah, a fun market that we had talked about a bunch on our Exotics pod was last undefeated. Well, next week's game against Philly can go a decent way to trying to catch that Tampa ticket. I mean, they go to Seattle and then have home against San Francisco at Detroit. A brutal stretch, but they seem to just keep figuring out. I think the one thing I'll say on the Jets, and before I get out of here and we can move on here, Jets 3 of 22 on third down their last 2 games. 10 of 36, 28% on the season. That would be bad if Houston wasn't 24% So, I mean, at the moment, I think that's what the Jets are. They're struggling on offense until they find kind of magic around either Fields or Tyrod. Tyrod turned it over in this game, which we had talked about in our Best Bets pod, was something I would hope he wouldn't do. And they still ended up covering anyway in the miraculous way. It also, I saw this quote from Baker. It seemed like this game was a bit personal, as he had this quote: their defensive coordinator, Steve Wilkes, was the one who cut me in Carolina. A lot of stuff was personal today. Hassan Reddick, former Jet, a lot of people, end quote. I mean, Baker seemed like he wanted this one, but this one was truly wild. And Bucks 3-0, first time since 2005, which seems almost impossible. Anything before we move on?
No, let's move.
All right. Green Bay and Cleveland. Now, these games just keep getting wilder. Like all these games at the top of our rundown. This was an easy one today in terms of choosing. So Cleveland beats Green Bay 13-10. Cover all the numbers. They close at about plus 7.5. They were as high as 8.5. I even saw some 9s at some point in the week. So the total goes under 40.5. So Green Bay is up 10-0 on Cleveland with 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And this basically ends up being Green Bay can't score enough in the early quarters to basically put Cleveland away. And when you keep Cleveland around, especially at home with that defense, I mean, everybody kind of saw this as a possibility coming when it was only 10-0. But listen, Green Bay had 14 penalties. Green Bay goes 10 of 18 on third down and loses. So, I mean, 10 drives, 10 points just isn't going to do it. Now, here's a great one for you. So this is Jordan Love's second loss when leading by 10 plus entering the fourth quarter. The way I found it, Rodgers only had one in his time in Green Bay. So another loss there on Love's resume. But to me, this just felt like a bad spot. Like overall, this many points in this type of game with I'll give you another stat on Cleveland in a minute, but Cleveland seems to just hold these really good teams down with their good defense. It happens every time.
Yeah, Browns defense looks legit. Mason Graham, their rookie, 43% pass rush win rate was awesome. That's for a defensive tackle. Average D tackle per Seth Walder is 9%. So he's getting to the quarterback almost half of his times on pass rushes. That's crazy. Both teams combined for 27% success rate on early downs. That's awful. I was on the under in this game, and I've never had an easier under in my life. Like, just nothing's happening in this game. The Browns are scoreless with under 4 minutes left. Here's their drive chart to that point. Punt, 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 interception, halftime. Punt, punt, punt. And they're on their 10th play from inside the 15-yard line. That's not drive. That's 10 plays inside the 15. They cannot get the ball into the end zone. They settle for a field goal, so it's 10-3. 3 plays later, Love throws an awful interception. Just what are you doing? The Browns can't move the ball, and the Browns score 1 play later. We're tied. Green Bay, another blocked field goal. We get into field goal range. I could have sworn Josh Jacobs fumbles there. Like, that ball is out. The Browns recover. I don't know what the refs are seeing there. The Browns block the field goal. The most balls don't lie I've ever seen in a football game. Like, that field goal never should have gone in. And then the Browns get their own field goal and steal the game. Neither team hit 230 yards. Neither team had 15 first downs. Neither team had 4 yards per play. Just defense everywhere. And the Packers offense just stalled out because they can run hot and cold. That was the read on this game, that if the explosives weren't there, could they disappear at times? And they disappeared at times. So up next for the Packers, the game we get to react to on this show a week from now, Green Bay in Dallas, the Micah Parsons game. We'll come back to that one later in the hot rate. I'll tell you that right now.
To me, Cleveland's defense, good. Cleveland's rush defense, ridiculous. 2.29 yards per carry this year, 57 yards per game right now. Josh Jacobs, 16 of 30, 1.9 yards per carry. Worst game of his career considering the workload. Really a clinic when you watched it. And you're right, the under was the easiest play. I put Browns in the app. I was considering the under and I didn't do it. And I felt bad right away because you could just see this game being, rudged up. It was dirty. The stat I gave you was dogs at 7 points or more at home, first 9 weeks. I'll say that one more time. Dogs of 7 points or more at home first 9 weeks. Now 19-1-2 against the spread last 3 seasons. 38-10-2 against the spread since 2020. Just way too many points in these matchups for teams who are really looking good early season. And here's just a fun one for you. So Flacco's won 2 games as a dog of over a touchdown in his career entering today. 2013 playoffs versus Brady and Manning, and now today. So pretty decent resume there. Josh Jacobs' touchdown streak ends at 11 as he has, again, one of his worst days. And then this was the fun one. So Browns at home in the dog pound have been a nightmare for teams recently. They're 13-5 straight up at home versus teams above 500 since 2020. $100 better would be up almost $1,300 in those games. So Cleveland, very difficult for good teams on the road. All right. You ready to keep rolling?
Yeah.
Denver and the Chargers. So Chargers beat Denver 23-20 in the afternoon window. So they mostly cover the 2.5. There was a bunch of threes out there that could have pushed in terms of Denver, but 23-20 goes under 46.5. Probably start this one with the best wishes to Najee Harris. That injury seemed absolutely brutal. And same with James Conner, which we're kind of going to roll over their game later since it kind of stunk. But both running back injuries bad this week. Obviously, a lot of circumstances going forward. In terms of the game itself, I feel like the main talking point would be Bo Nix. Didn't look great in the game, 14-25, 153, touchdown, no interceptions. But Denver starts with 4 straight punts, ends the game with a punt on the last 3 or 4 possessions. With that being said, it just felt kind of dirty from Denver side. Sutton ends up having some big catches, but overall, felt like the Chargers defense did a pretty good job at bottling him up. Now, Chargers have beaten the Broncos both straight up and against the spread in their last 3 meetings. They hadn't done that since 2011. But what do you take away from this one?
Yeah, I think you see the final score line here, field goal, walk-off, basically, and you're like, oh, coin flip. Pretty much what we expected. That's what the line was. That's the game that we got. That's not what the numbers say. The numbers say the Chargers dominated this game. Broncos had 32 fewer plays on the field, so the Chargers offense on the field all game. Denver had 9 first downs in this game. That is the second fewest by any team this season. Chargers 29 for reference. So they tripled them up on first downs. Denver on this game, 25% success rate. So 1 out of every 4 plays they ran for the entire game was successful. That's without Khalil Mack, by the way. I thought the Chargers defense might struggle a bit without him. Denver is now, for the season, 31st in success rate, ahead of only the Texans, who we all know can't even get a first down to save their lives. That's the only team Denver's offense has been better than. So you look at this game, I forget, there was a college team last year that had the thing that called it like the 4-minute window, or I forget what the number was, but it's like the 2 minutes right before halftime and the 2 minutes right after halftime. In that window, Denver won 17-0. They got a long touchdown on 4th and 2. Then they got J.K. Dobbins, got revenge on his old team, got a couple of nifty plays, long tiptoe touchdown, 17-0. Outside of that, it's the real game. Chargers 23-3, the other 56 minutes, and it all counts, but that's why they dominated in that part. Chargers now 3-0, all 3 in the division. So they have dominated all of those games. They up next get the Giants, Commanders, and Dolphins. So this team could really be looking at 6-0 quite easily here. I think Justin Herbert at this point has to be considered, and it is in the odds. It is a 3-man MVP race right now. There isn't really an NFC contender. I don't think Mahomes can be a contender at this point. It's Lamar and Josh, we know that, but I think Herbert is the 3rd guy right now, and he looked the part. He was under a lot of pressure this game. He did take 5 sacks, but he made those big plays late and made a couple of huge throws for them, get them into position. Denver is 1-2. Their only win was week 1, Cam Ward road debut by 1 score. That, remember, was not an easy one for them. Denver hosts the Bengals Monday night, a week from now. They're big favorites. They need that one, and they have not necessarily done well against Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Then it's at the Eagles after that. If you blow the game against the Bengals and then you're big underdogs in Philly, you're 1-4 for a team that Sean Payton thought was a Super Bowl contender. It's not looking great right now for Denver.
I'll be honest. I saw that line. I like Cincinnati. I think that's a little bit too many points. I think that's an overreaction for what we just saw. Plus, kind of like teams off of that blowout situation anyway. I think so Bo Nix is on one side. I think that's the initial part of the conversation in terms of just today. But overall picture, it's Justin Herbert. Much better story. Leading the league currently in passing yards, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception this year. And I think worth noting, he's 8-0-1 against the spread versus the AFC West since the start of last season. So I feel like it's like the Chargers are almost turning into what the Chiefs were in like a very mini type way. I mean, I think a lot needs to come, but there's domination on the defensive side of the ball. They're efficient on offense. Their coaching seems very good. I like their coordinators. Like I really do like what the Chargers put to the table every week, and they're difficult to beat. They travel well. There's a lot to like on this side. And again, easy schedule coming up. All signs pointing kind of up with this team. So that's the thought there. Anything else?
I don't think so.
All right. So before we move on, do not forget to sign up for Action Pro for real-time pick alerts from experts like Brandon Anderson, myself, our entire Action Network team. Plus, you can access our pro projections powered by Sean Kerner and our predictive analytics squad. Just go to actionnetwork.com/pro. Get $20 off the annual price with the promo code POD20, POD20. Don't miss out on the best bets at the best prices. Visit actionnetwork.com/pro. Use promo code POD20, POD20 to get $20 off a year of Action Pro. All right. We're going to go through 4 games now, a little bit quicker than we were before. And we're going to go, we're starting with Pittsburgh first. Pittsburgh at New England. Pittsburgh beats New England 21-14. Closes -1.5, covered that. Total goes under 44.5. I mean, Patriots outgained the Steelers 349 yards to 101 over the final 3 quarters and lost. How the heck did that happen? Well, New England turned it over 5 times.
Yeah.
4 fumbles lost. Teams 3-36 straight up with 4 fumbles lost 20 years. It's just you can't put it on the ground. And when you put it on the ground, it's complete luck in terms of who recovers it. So 4 fumbles lost in general, you can't win that way. Not possible. So to me, what does this say about Pittsburgh and New England? I still kind of like what I see out of New England. I felt like up and down from a box score point of view and what I saw on the field, they were the better team. Now, listen, I bet on them and I lost, but I feel like going forward, now next week is Carolina. I think a little tricky there. I think the numbers, the trends, different things like that would tell you to probably take New England off the loss with Carolina off a 30-0 win. But a little bit of a tricky situation. What do you kind of take away from Pittsburgh, New England?
Yeah, I think that you have to take away that New England was the much better team in this game. So going forward, the Steelers defense is just not happening this year. We finally hit a Steelers under. This was my 3rd time betting it. I should have taken the L. That was not a good bet. This should not have hit as an under. I know it's 35. We went under by like 10 points from the closing line. Should not have gone under. 5 turnovers. Ramondre Stevenson turns it over on the 1.
Terrible.
Drake May, I think, there was another turnover like in the end zone as well. Interception at the 2. Late in the game, the Patriots, they throw to Pop Douglas, and it looks like he maybe has the first down, and then he kind of spins backwards to get more yards and then gets stopped, and that's it. So we kind of have 2 Steelers games ending that way now. We had the Jalen Ramsey hit from the first game against the Jets. Those games are kind of similar, I think, where Pittsburgh, the numbers don't say Pittsburgh was a better team, either one of those. They're 2-1. But 2 pretty fraudy wins against teams we don't even know if are good, the Jets and the Patriots, and then they have a bad loss to Seattle. So Pittsburgh now they play the Vikings next week. That's the game in Dublin, Sunday morning. And the Steelers defense just has not shown up right now. And credit where it's due. Rodgers talked after the game about, man, the Steelers, our defense saved us. Okay, well, defenses force turnovers. So the turnovers saved them. Win probability on those 5 turnovers, 76% swing to Pittsburgh's favor. That tells you how much the Patriots were dominating the rest of the game when they were that clearly going to win, except for the 5 turnovers. And turnovers are not sticky and don't keep happening. Stevenson straight into the doghouse after that. Antonio Gibson, he fumbles, he goes in the doghouse. We haven't brought up the rookies. You mentioned Najee Harris with the Chargers. big opportunity for Marion Hampton. I'm definitely looking for him for a possible Rookie of the Year stock. We'll see where his price opens. Patriots, big opportunity for Trevion Henderson. He got almost all the running back snaps because after Stevenson and Gibson did their fumbles, it was like, okay, I guess it's time for the rookie. And he wasn't good. He had 11 rushes for 28 yards, but we haven't really seen any rookies step up. Travis Hunter is barely playing offense these days. Cam Ward's throwing pick sixes like 3 plays into the game. That race feels pretty open, and running backs are can steal the show in a hurry. Scatterboo tonight, was like, maybe he'll jump up into the race. I think some of these running backs into the offensive Rookie of the Year race is another takeaway for me coming out of this game.
Mecca Ibuka as well kind of stepped up.
Sure, you're right. Yeah, he's probably the lead.
He was probably, I think he probably is. But I think in this game, the other thing that caught my eye was the running game. Abysmal. From at least Pittsburgh's point of view, 2.82 yards per carry this year, second worst in the NFL when I checked earlier. Cincinnati was worse at 2.4. And then Trevion Henderson, other than I think he returned the kick in week 1, or was that the preseason? I can't remember.
Preseason, yeah.
Preseason, yeah. This year he is -2 rush yards over expected per attempt. Second worst of any running back in the league. So some of the advanced metrics are kind of showing you why he's not getting some of the carries. But overall, between both of these teams, it felt very messy, and Pittsburgh was lucky kind of again to come away with a victory. All right, let's keep rolling here. Houston and Jacksonville. So Jacksonville beats Houston 17-10. Covers all the small numbers. Total goes under 42.5. I think a few people had tweeted this, but it felt like nobody was wanting to win this game and nobody deserved a victory in this game based off of how it ended. The last quarter or so was just absolutely terrible. This is how it went. So it went punt, missed field goal, interception, punt, interception, then a touchdown on 150-yard play, then a turnover on downs, fumble, touchdown, interception, end of game. It just literally felt like at any given moment, both of these quarterbacks could have stepped up, and they showed you exactly who they are. From Houston's point of view, holy mackerel, I think they have like 38 points all season. They're 0-4 in the red zone this year. 0-4 in the red zone. What is going? They're 3-0 to the under because they haven't scored any points. So Texans are the only team in the last 20 seasons to start 0-3, allowing fewer than 55 points as well. Defense looks great. We talked about that in the preseason. We love their defense. And we were saying, well, listen, Nico Collins going to have a great year. And this, and that. None of that's happening. And they're 0-3 for a reason. And the Colts look like beaters right now. They're going crazy. So the only thing I think that's absolutely different in this game, or at least different from Jacksonville's standpoint, they're playing better at the early. They're 3-0 first half ATS this year. Historically, Lawrence had been terrible early in games. So at least that's better. But I'm curious what you thought from at least Houston's point of view. Like, where do they go next? They face Tennessee. I think they're laying 7 points next week.
Yeah, it's even above 7 at some books, unless it's gone down a little bit. But yeah, I literally had in my notes, both teams deserve to lose this game. Just terrible offense everywhere. Houston missed the field goal. There's a bad interception by Stroud inside what would have been the red zone. Nico fumbles the ball inside what would have been the red zone. There's interception at the Jacksonville 4. So, yeah, there's 3 times in this game that they would have made the red zone, instead turn it over on that play. You said 0-4 in the red zone. The 0 is a problem, but the 4 is a bigger problem. How you have 4 times in the red zone the entire season so far? Lawrence and Stroud, both quarterbacks that we want to like, you guys, they sucked in this game. Like they just look lost right now. I thought the Jacksonville offense honestly looked worse a lot of the game. Like they looked completely on different pages. You get Lawrence gets the snap and throws just like 8 yards out of bounds, where it's like looking at his receiver. And Brian Thomas did get 1 late catch, but he's on a totally different page. It's kind of a mess. And then they win the game anyway. So yeah, I had the note about 38 points. 0-3 for the Texans, all 1-score games. They're 0-3. Jacksonville's 2-1. Colts are 3-0. Their season might be over in Houston. Like I saw a lot of people posting the graphic of Houston eliminated from the playoffs. Like not actually, but the whole thing with the Texans was defense, special teams, coaching, and by the way, the division's terrible. Well, the division might not be terrible as it turns out. And if Houston's terrible instead, that's not going to be a very good formula for them. So, yeah, I'm going to have a hard time not wanting to back them against the Titans because they seem like the much better team, but I had a hard time not backing them today. I bet them. And then they were like the one kitchen sink team that just didn't show up and they don't have a kitchen sink. They sold the kitchen. There's nothing left. The house is empty.
Jacksonville now has San Francisco and Kansas City coming up in back-to-back weeks. I felt like, like you said, they're lucky to come away with this one. But Travis Hunter, 10 receptions, 76 yards in 3 games. BTJ, 7 receptions, 115 yards in 3 games. I'm almost positive this is right because I looked it up. But right now, Trey Tucker has more receiving yards than both of them combined. This is where we are right now through 3 weeks. And I feel like they just need to figure it out. And a brutal schedule coming up with both of those 2 games. All right, let's keep rolling here. So we've got Arizona and San Francisco coming up next year. San Francisco wins 16-15. Arizona covers every number. Total goes under 44.5. I feel like I can't really take too much away from anything in this game because I feel like most things that I knew beforehand were confirmed. Like, I'm not necessarily sure that, Bosa got hurt from San Francisco, which is probably a bigger story than anything I'll actually learn in the game because Mac Jones felt like he just barely held on to give Kyle Shanahan the win, and Kyler Murray didn't do enough in the end, which tends to happen often now. I'll give you one stat before I just toss it to you, which is Kyler's now 8-21 straight up versus the NFC West. When he's coming off a win, facing an NFC West opponent, he is now 4-10, losing 7 straight. His last win was in 2021. This just continues to happen for Arizona every single week, and this couldn't have been a better opportunity, right? You're an underdog on a short number against Mac Jones and San Francisco, where it feels like people are getting injured on every other play. And I know you lost James Conner in this game, but I think Trey Benson's just fine. And he does exactly what you need to do. And he looked better, honestly, when Conner went down. So it's not really an excuse. I just don't know what to say other than it's the exact same thing every single time.
Yeah, and Arizona plays Thursday night against Seattle. So a pretty big game for both of those teams because this entire division is above 500 right now. Arizona's still 2-1. Seattle and the Rams are 2-1. The Niners are 3-0, and they kind of have to fall into that same fraud off 3-0 group. Like my article in a couple of days, I was right about, okay, what about the 3-0 teams? Historically, 3-0 teams make the playoffs about 75% of the time. More recently, that has dropped down to more like 2/3 of the time. We've got 6 this year, and a whole lot of them look pretty fraudy. The Niners are 3-0 against Seattle, New Orleans, and Arizona by 10 points. So it's like, who is the good 3-0 team? We haven't gotten there yet from all these games, but I think similar to the Bucs, the optimist says, okay, everybody's hurt for San Fran. Now Nick Bosa is hurt, their most important defensive player. They said after the game, it's hopefully not his ACL. Well, that sounds great, but I'd love to not say those 3 letters at all. I'd love to just be like, yeah, he's fine. Let's not even talk about that. So for the Niners, like they lose this game last year. They lose this exact sort of game where Mac Jones gets the safety with like 3-4 minutes left. You lose by 2. Like that's such a Niners loss where they're stalling in the red zone and not like they were the better team on the metrics, but they would lose this game. We said that about one of the other games earlier. It matters, like the Bucs, that they're 3-0. It matters, like the Eagles, that they're 3-0. In San Fran and Tampa's case, both of those teams are just like, this I think is the worst the Niners will be all year. Purdy should be back now. They're going to start getting healthier. Juwan Jennings was out. Ayuk will be back eventually. McCaffrey is still just having huge volume. Hopefully, Bosa is okay and comes back. They're still transitioning to the new defensive coordinator with Saleh in town. To be 3-0 despite all of that is pretty impressive if you want to be optimistic about it. So that's the hard part now is how do we parse through these 3-0 teams where it's like, man, it hasn't really impressed me that much, but like, who can you beat to impress? It's early in the season, and if you beat somebody, you're like, oh, well, they must have sucked, so it's not really impressive that you beat them anymore. And that's kind of where we're at on these teams right now.
Yeah, I was looking forward to what Arizona could possibly do in that Seattle game because I thought this was a decent opportunity. But more or less, I'm just keep being wrong about San Francisco if you listen to any of our preseason pods because I feel like every single week they could have lost each of these games on some level. And they're the Walking Dead at the moment, but they continue to figure it out at home against Jacksonville and then at the Rams, which is, I believe, Thursday night and should be a very entertaining one after that. All right, let's keep rolling here. Dallas and Chicago. So Chicago beats Dallas 31-14. They cover plus 1.5. Total goes under 50.5. Believe right now, Caleb and Aaron Rodgers and Williams lead the league in passing touchdowns, which just funny in itself. Lamar and Goff, and there's others with 6. So you assume Lamar and Goff on Monday Night Football will take that. But at the moment, I think that tells an interesting story, except for the fact that the over-under in this game is probably the story. Cowboys-Bears stay under the total of 50.5 after 38 combined points in the first half. Tweeted this one out, but this is the second game with 38 plus first half points to go under a total of 51 or less in the first 3 weeks of this season with Cowboys and Eagles, which happened in the opener. We've only had 9 such games like that in the previous 25 years, and we have had 2 in the first 3 weeks. So brutal beats there. I think the storyline is simple, Caleb. 4 touchdowns, 0 picks, 298 passing yards. Probably his most in best start, obviously, as a Bear. But I think the most important is no sacks in the game. That, to me, is most important. So how do you like this one? Bears have only had one performance of 4 touchdowns, 0 picks, and 0 sacks with this many passing yards. Eric Kramer, 1995. This was a performance that I think Chicago's been waiting at least 20 years for.
Yeah, this one more than 20 years. Chicago doesn't have more. A lot of these sort of games. Yeah, first sackless game of his career is crazy. The difference here is just Dallas mistakes. 4 turnovers, 1 of 4 in the red zone, 3 of 11 on third down. The game wasn't close, but it should have been closer without those huge mistakes there. Both offenses moved the ball pretty well. Dallas just didn't move it well enough when it had to on those kind of key spots. And of course, no CeeDee Lamb stats. If you're wondering what happened, Dallas decided, hey, it'd be cool. Let's run the ball with CeeDee Lamb. And he leaves hurt, and he's got a high ankle. I don't know if we're going to even get to see him in that big Sunday night game against the Packers next week. We'll see how much Lamb will be ready. And again, a little teaser. We're going to get back to that one in the hot read shortly here.
I'll give you one stat before we move on here. Dallas has allowed 567 passing yards in the first half of the 3 games. 4 touchdowns, 0 picks, almost 77% completion percentage for opposing quarterbacks in the first half, 12.1 yards per attempt. All feels video game and made up, but that is exactly what opposing quarterbacks are doing against this Dallas pass defense. Ridiculous. All right, let's get back to the trivia question, which we talked about off the top. I will reiterate it right now. So Jaguars are the least profitable team against the spread over the last 20 years. They've had 17 quarterbacks start for them. Trevor Lawrence is the second worst against the spread. The question is, who is the worst? And we actually have a winner. I'll tell you the answer was Chad Henne at 7-14-1 against the spread. Lawrence currently 31-34 ATS. Patrick Nolan is the winner. Patrick, just DM me on Twitter, Evan H. Abrams, and I will get you all hooked up. Before we get out of here, we've got to get to Brandon's hot read, but first we've got to get to the rest of the games here. So let's go one by one. Indy and Tennessee. Hold on, let me pull this up. Give me 1 second. I got to scroll back down. Indy wins 41-20, covers all numbers on the road. Total goes over 42.5. The Titans have now lost 10 straight games at home against the spread. They are 3-17 against the spread in their last 20 games overall. You should really get 2-1 odds for getting a Titans ATS bet these days. Raiders, Commanders, Washington wins 41-24, covers -7.5, open and -3 close. Over 43.5 on the game. Washington had 174 rushing yards in the first half. And I think the other storyline is Ashton Jeanty. What about this one? Only 66% of his carries so far this season have gone for a yard or more. Just getting stuffed at the line. Only running back worse is Zach Charbonnet at 63%. So not great for the early start with Jeanty. Bengals Vikings, Minnesota wins 48-10, and it wasn't even that close. They cover -3. Total goes over 42.5. Just the Vikings went over 42.5. The Vikings 24 first half points off of turnovers is the most in a first half since 2012 when the Patriots did it. This one was just embarrassing. Falcons Panthers. Speaking of embarrassing, Carolina wins 30-0. People were calling for Arthur Blank and Michael Penix. It was very, very bad game. They cover all the numbers as the underdog. Total goes under 44. How about this one? So Michael Penix had a completion percentage over expected of -6.4 entering today, which was the third worst of any quarterback with Cam Ward and J.J. McCarthy. Penix's CPOE today, -12.5. So it just got worse. And then Saints Seahawks. Speaking of that, Seattle wins 44-13. They cover -7.5. Total goes over 41.5. Again, just with the Seahawks, who go over 41.5 themselves. A bad game overall, but worth noting, Saints trail 30-0 in the first quarter this season, so not starting fast. Trailed at the half at all three games. Spencer Rattler, 0-9 straight up. And also, if you're looking ahead, and I am actually going to double check this before I say it, the New Orleans Saints play in the Buffalo Bills next week. And that line is 16.5 at the moment. And I tweeted this out. That would be the biggest line in a Saints game as them as an underdog since 1975. Archie Manning against Fran Tarkenton is how far you have to go back to find the Saints at this big of an underdog. But listen, 44-13 will give it to you. So that is where we sit. All right. Monday night. Well, first of all, do you have anything to say on any of those godforsaken games?
No, the less we say, the better. Let's do Monday night.
Thank God. All right. Monday Night Football. This is a great one. I mean, for all the sloppy, ridiculous, unbelievable Week 3 Sunday, we get Lions and Ravens on Monday night. I mean, at this point, I feel like I'll just give you two stats. I'll hear what you have to say, and then I'll give you a few bets. But at home and night games, John Harbaugh, 23-4 straight up as coach of the Ravens. And in November earlier, he is 19-1 straight up in those games. And then I found this one insane. This one kind of shows how dominant against the spread the Lions have been, at least in recent history. But they throttled the Bears last week, winning by 31. Most of the time, that would tell you to fade Detroit the next week. Under Dan Campbell, Detroit is 16-4 against the spread in their game directly after winning by 11 plus points. They just keep their foot on the pedal. Pretty impressive. So what are you doing here with Detroit and Baltimore?
Yeah, these teams played 2 years ago, and the Ravens absolutely demolished them. 38-6, 28-0 at halftime. Last week, the Browns stacked the box against Derrick Henry, really shut down Derrick Henry and dared Baltimore to pass. And I think Detroit probably will try something similar. They like to play a lot of man, but the problem here is the Lions are bottom 5 in explosive play rate allowed, and they're second worst in passing explosive play rate. Well, guess what? The Ravens are pretty darn explosive. They lead the league in explosive, and we've seen it plenty. And by the way, in hindsight, the Ravens dropping 40 on the Browns looks pretty good, it turns out, when the Packers can only get to 10. So I like the Ravens a lot here. It's not a great spot on the number to back them. Historically, Lamar as a home favorite of 3 to 10 points, 8-19-1 ATS. So that's a little bit of a red flag here. I think the way to bet the Ravens, if you like them, Old Faithful, Lamar first half. We know the stat, 60-34-2, 64% ATS in the first half for his career, 2-0 ATS this year, and first half number is -2.5. So you can get under the key number that way. Don't worry about the backdoor, that sort of thing. Just play for the Ravens to come out quickly. A lot of trends like the under here. That's the hater bet, I suppose. This total's been bet up. It was 50.5. It's now like 53.5. Non-Thursday primetime under 61% since 2019. Goff has actually been the most profitable active quarterback to the under on totals 51 and above, 63% there. And this is a luck under as well. So I think an under is a good play. And then one prop for you, I like Zay Flowers a lot in this game. He's getting wide receiver 1 volume. And again, we think they're probably going to have to pass in this game. So they've actually been pretty run heavy, Baltimore, so far. Only 48 passes in 2 games. Given that, Zay's had 7 catches each week for 143 and 75 yards. That's pretty huge, actually. He's getting 43% of the targets in Baltimore, 42% of the receptions. That's nearly half of all the passing Baltimore is doing is going to Zay Flowers. Still no likely in this game. And Detroit allowed the most yards to any receivers last season. 14 games out of 17, the team's wide receiver 1 had at least 64 yards. They averaged 91 yards a game. And then we saw Odunze light up the Lions last week also. That's kind of just, Detroit's going to live with that. If you can beat them throwing to your wide receiver 1, beat them in man-to-man coverage, they'll live with it. So I think Baltimore will live with it as well. 70 yards hits the over for Zay Flowers, just the traditional. And I'll play a little bit of 90 yards at 2-1 odds as well. Detroit allowed 90 yards or more 11 times last year, and Zay Flowers hit that 6 times himself. And I think he's kind of taking another step up with the way they're playing this year. And if Detroit hangs around a little bit, that's probably even better because they may have to actually keep passing and not just run the ball off the whole second half.
Yeah, I like the Flowers look. All right, let me roll through some bets here. Don't ever say I didn't do anything for you, especially just getting you some ideas ready for Monday Night Football because I got some fun stuff here. I already logged Montgomery touchdown in the app. I was splitting it with Kareem Hunt, assuming I liked both of them at plus money, and I thought at least one would get in the end zone. Well, let's hope they both do. I like the Sam Laporta look. Fannin and Njoku went 9 of 88 against Baltimore. Kincaid and Knox go 6 of 68. Laporta, 4 receptions, 40 plus receiving yards is minus 110 on DraftKings. I think that is a decent look in this game. I'll give you a few more here. So I like the Lions team total over 12.5 in the second half. So they've played 17 straight games, Detroit, where they've scored 7+ points in the second half. It's close enough where I feel like Brandon's Baltimore first half look has been Lamar's staple. And I think the ability for Detroit to have to put the foot on the pedal and score some points in the second half is a decent look. I believe their first half total is 10.5, second half 12.5. So I will take the 12.5, and I'll give you 3 long shots here. So Brandon likes the Ravens early. I think that's, again, the right call. So I will look at Baltimore to score first and then lose the game at 5-1. The only thing I'll say is this. If Baltimore scores first, open up DraftKings, go to the scoreboard, check out what the Lions are on the money line. Because I think it's interesting to see how, depending how quick Baltimore scores, what the situation is. I'm assuming it's not going to be that high. So I think this price is decent, at least in that moment, especially if it's a back and forth. And 2 more. A first team touchdown. Like I said, I like Laporta in this spot, but I think an early fun look is Brock Wright, first team touchdown for the Lions at 22-1. And then one funsy, since this game could get absolutely wild with both offenses and the fact that it is 53.5 on the total, each team to score a rush pass touchdown in each half at DraftKings, 50-1. I think it's worth a few dollars in this type of game. Listen, you just sat through 22-9 KC Giants. At least you could do is put a 50-1 job and hope for some rushing, passing touchdowns. Maybe you get a little bit close. So those are the looks that I have here. Some fun stuff, some, less higher odd stuff, but those are my looks. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, it's an exciting game. We don't get a lot of great Monday night games anymore. We stack the deck on Sunday nights usually. So I feel like we should not take for granted. The following week we get a doubleheader with Jets, Dolphins, and then Jake Browning the second. Jake Browning and Bo Nix and Tua and Justin Fields or Tyrod or whoever. Like, let's watch some real good football teams tomorrow. And hopefully we just gave you like 12 bets to find something good in there and have a little fun watching a good game on Monday night.
You mentioned Jaguars, Chiefs in primetime coming up. Those are some scary primetime games potentially. All right, if you want to tell some of these bets we gave out today for Monday night's game, make sure to look for the quick slip link in the podcast and video description, or go to actionnetwork.com/bet now. BETNOW. You can also find those quick slips in the live YouTube chat if you're still hanging out with us. All right, Brendan, I think we've teased them long enough. What are your hot read plays for week 4?
Yeah, I've teased it both ways. Let's go right to Sunday night for that Micah Parsons game. Give me the Packers. -5 if you can find it. I grabbed it earlier. I still see a -5.5 at DraftKings, our sponsor. Packers at the Cowboys. Look, do I really need to tell you why we're going to put the Packers in this game? It's the Micah Parsons game. Packers defense has been awesome. Even though they lost today, the defense still was awesome. They were number 1 DVOA entering the weekend. Cowboys O-line, how many sacks are they going to give up to Micah Parsons? It's going to be multiple. It seems like Packers offense struggled, but that was the Browns. The Cowboys are, charitably a top 5 defense right now. Like they are turning. I see in the comments here, H-Town DZ says quarterbacks play Dallas and have career games. That's what's happening right now. We got Russell Wilson puts up, career high 450 whatever yards. Now Caleb Williams has his career game, an all-time Bears quarterback game. That's who the Cowboys are right now. Bottom 10 explosive play rate allowed, meaning bad bottom 10. Packers are explosive plays, and the Cowboys corners are hurt right now too. I think Green Bay can pretty much name its number in this game. And I think they're going to want to. They're going to want to come out embarrassed after this game, losing to the Browns. They head into the bye week after this. And this is a game you always bet the Packers on. The Packers have beat the Cowboys 10 of 11 times since 2009. This is not a rivalry. This is a beatdown. Packers have won 5 in a row with at least 30 points all 5 games. So maybe you just want a Packers team total over once that posts as well. And again, CeeDee Lamb, not even a certainty to play in this game. He got the ankle sprain, so we'll see if he's even a go. Matt LaFleur, 63% ATS after a loss. So we're grabbing it now. Both our plays today are at -5.5. That matters because we know 3 is a key. We know 7. These days, 6 is probably the next key number with the way field goals are going in, the way 2-pointers are out there. 5.5 matters. Grab it now. Is going to get to 6. I wouldn't even be surprised if this one pushes towards 7, as bad as Dallas has looked. And then let's go right to the other one. Chargers, -5.5 at the Giants. We just watched the Giants. Do I need to tell you why we're not betting on the Giants here? The Chargers looked apart. They're 3-0 in the division. They dominated Denver today. They've been clearly the better team all of their games. Jesse Minter's defense has been awesome. Herbert looks like an MVP candidate. I don't love the Chargers O-line against the pass rush here, but Herbert has handled the pressure, and I think if he can get the pass off, those receivers can slice up the secondary. I mentioned Omarion Hampton. Giants dead last in run defense by DVOA. Maybe this is the rookie breakout game. If you want that rookie of the year ticket, you might need it before this game kicks off. And how are the Giants going to score? Will they ever score? Again, like we watched them just now. Hopefully they'll have a kicker by then, but I don't know if Andrew Thomas will play the left tackle. Kansas City showed how to take Malik Neighbors away. We saw the Giants hang 37 on the Cowboys. That doesn't count. That's not a real team. You scored 15 points the other 2 games against Washington and Kansas City, who, by the way, aren't great defenses. This, to me, is the worst offense in the league, the Giants. And the Chargers, we get a bargain here below the 6, again with a key number. And here's a crazy stat for you. Jim Harbaugh, for his career in the NFL, when his team is favored by under 6 points, 28-7 ATS, 80% hit rate. The man does not blow games. Now, I don't think that stat's going to come into play here because I think the number is going to rise. That's why we're grabbing it now, and then the stat won't end up happening. But undefeated teams against winless teams after week 3, 72% cover rate by about 5 points a game. So grab the Chargers, -5.5, Packers -5.5. Get them both before we get to some key numbers.
I like another bet in these 2 games, and I'll just tell you this right now. They've allowed 9 rushing touchdowns, the Giants and Cowboys. I think Hampton and Jacobs get in the end zone. I would honestly take them both in a parlay for two touchdowns each and just have a little fun there. I feel like the Giants and Cowboys can allow some touchdowns, but I agree. Both those numbers are going to rise. Again, if you want to tail Brandon's hot read, find the quick slip link in the podcast and video description or go to actionnetwork.com/BETNOW bet now. All right, that'll do it here on the Action Network podcast for our NFL Week 3 recap episode presented by DraftKings. Give us a like on the YouTube video before you take off. We really appreciate it. Don't forget to download the award-winning free Action Network app to see more from all our Action Network contributors. Sign up for Action Network Pro for immediate notifications every time one of our Action Networks tracks a pick. Go to actionnetwork.com/pro. Use the promo code POD20 for $20 off a year of Action Pro. If you're on Twitter, we have an awesome new feature. If you see a bet from any of our favorite action experts or anyone on gambling Twitter, you can now tag @playbook and tell our bot to build you a bet slip at a book of your choice. It will build it for you with a quick slip link that opens right up to your sportsbook. So go check out our new tool @playbook on Twitter. We will be back for Action Island before Monday night's game right here on Action Network's YouTube page, as well as more NFL best bets from Brandon, Raybon, and Stucky's six-pack episode, Anytime Touchdowns, and more on the podcast feed all of next week. Thank you for listening. Good luck with all your bets. Let's get to week 4. Enjoy.